All right, as we start this meeting, let me remind the members that the ACJC is live streaming this meeting to allow our stakeholders and members of the public to access today's conversation. Staff has set Google Meet to highlight anyone speaking, so please remember to mute your microphone unless you are speaking, otherwise you're going to be highlighted. In addition to the live stream, the meeting is being recorded to comply with the Arizona Open Meeting Law. So with that, why don't we first go ahead and call the roll.
Dave Byers.
Here.
Laura Conover. Jeff Glover. Paul Penzone. Sheila Polk.
Julio Marroquin sitting in for Sheila Polk.
Heston Silver.
Wade Webb on behalf of DPS, representing Carl.
Steve Stahl. Sir, we do not have a quorum.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and begin with the information items. Let's see. I don't think we have an action item, do we?
Just the approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
We'll hold up on the minutes then, because you're right, that would be an action item. So why don't we do the updates, Lloyd, and really you're doing those. So let's do that and have a discussion. Let's do each one and stop and let members ask any questions they have before you go on to the next. So you want to go ahead and start with Arizona AZ Point?
Yes, sir. So earlier this year, we received a funding request to complete the AZ Point enhancements. That request was for $943,640. We were able to fully fund that request, and work has begun. We anticipate completion of that list sometime in 2023. We're using some monies from a scope change request that we had for 2018 and additional monies that we received for 2020 NICS-NARA funds. So the enhancements fully funded. We should see that completed by sometime next year.
And Lloyd, those enhancements were all things that law enforcement or users requested, as I recall. So there'll be
That's correct.
When they're completed, there'll be improvements that will make everything easier for the people using that system. Is that correct?
Easier for users. We will have a Spanish language version of the website where they are rebuilding a lot of the behind the scenes tools that run AZ Points. We'll see some performance enhancements, as well as the ability to meet some of the requirements that DPS put down during the audit. So once the enhancements are completed, we will be able to move forward with a fully realized AZ Point.
Right. I know I signed a contract this week, so I think the project's underway.
They are.
Okay, any questions about AZ Point?
Yes, Lloyd, I have a question. You mentioned that those enhancements were going to come through in 2023. Do you guys have a date, more or less, a month when that's going to be done?
We have a list that we are scheduled to work on for completion in the next few months. And then the remainder of the work is scheduled for 2023. I can share that with the committee after this meeting. So there's a number of enhancements that are scheduled to be completed this year, the balance of the enhancements for next year.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll share that. I'll share a more detailed outline of the types of improvements that we're programming.
Yeah, I think what Julio was asking is when we're talking about 2023, are we talking first quarter, second quarter? Is there a schedule of when that work will be done, Lloyd? Do you know?
No, not at this. No, we're hoping. No, we haven't settled on a due date for that.
Director Bowers, this is Andy. I had a quick question. I know at one point in the past we had received some data from you guys on the AZ Point system and the effectiveness of it. Do you know if we've gotten any new data recently, or can we request another data pool to take a look at those numbers?
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. We pulled data that looked at, of course, the numbers of the users, but also how long it was taking to serve and so forth. And there was a real reduction in the amount of time to get service compared to the old manual method. So why don't we do that? Why don't we ask our staff to pull what information they have, and maybe at the next meeting we can present that.
And Director Byers, this is Shayla. We have an updated extract through May 31st of this year. We just received it. So
Okay, so there you
we're
go.
just working on cleaning it up so we can get those out.
So I guess they anticipated the director's request. So that'd be great if you could do that and get it out to everyone. We'll all be interested. I do know, those of us who have been around, this was really a hard project. And there was a lot of griping, but I can tell you when the pandemic hit, it really saved a lot of people. It was really a godsend to be able to process these things electronically. And so I've heard a lot of positive things over the last year or so. So it's nice that went from griping to positive. So yeah, I'd love to see the new data.
And then one more question, if I may, Director. I know we had built into the system when we first designed it the ability to do the incidental contacts. Has there been any thought about furthering that conversation? I guess that's probably more of a conversation with our law enforcement partners, but that's for those, if you pull somebody over and you have an ability to actually print out the full paperwork in your car because you have the printer, that you would be able to serve the order to the person when you come into that contact with them.
Yeah, I do remember that, Andy. You remember when we got into it, there was some question about how many police cars had the printer that could print out an 8x10 order. And then there were officers that were saying they weren't excited about delivering an order of protection on the highway. So I think that would be a good discussion, maybe to engage with law enforcement and see if what they can do and what do they want to do on that.
Thank you, sir.
And it may be, all we know is they were served. It could be that some of that's going on now. I haven't heard any discussion about that for a long time. That would probably be a good thing to talk about.
Yeah, sorry, Director, to the best of my understanding, it's built in but was not turned on. I believe there's an ability for an agency to turn it on if they desire to, agency by agency, in order, if they had the right equipment to be able to do it. But the liability question, I think, was the big roadblock of knowing there was an order that could be served, but not being able to serve it. Did that open up law enforcement to a liability concern? So that's why it was not turned on at that point.
Okay, well, let's follow up and find out about that. But I don't know how many squad cars have the ability to print out, an 8x11 sheet. I guess we'd have to ask our law enforcement partners to find that out. Okay, anything more on Arizona Point? Okay, let's go to Vine. How's the Vine program going?
We're moving forward. We have now 4 of our small rural counties that have the equipment set up are able to transmit back and forth. We've completed training, initial training with these counties. We're currently in the process of connecting Maricopa County Sheriff's Office to the Vine system. We're looking at, we ran into a technical issue, and so we're looking at the best way to transmit live booking information back and forth. And then we're moving forward with other counties. Yavapai is ready to begin the hardware installation. We have a number of other counties in the queue right now. So Maricopa is our big focus. Hopefully we'll have the technology issues worked out in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be able to move them to training. So I'm confident we'll be able to get Maricopa working now.
And so what's your timetable for statewide implementation of Vine?
Once we have all the technology pieces taken care of, it's about a 2-week transition period as we train, build in the policies for each county. We are looking at the end of this year to bring the major counties or the first round of counties online. So towards December, once we have Maricopa figured out, we should be able to roll out the first 5 counties. And we're anticipating that by the end of the year.
And so that would leave 10 counties. So is there a schedule to bring the other 10 on like in 23?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions about Vine?
Lloyd, just a follow-up on the Vine program. What is
Yes.
the process for seeking training for staff at the sheriff's office and the user community?
We've partnered with our victims compensation team to do the training. So you can contact me and we would be able to schedule that for your team. So once we have the equipment installed and ready to transmit, we'll set you up in a sandbox, a protected practice area where we can do the training using some live data. Once everyone is trained up and knows how to use the system, we can then move you to a production site and go live.
So I would imagine Yavapai County, for example, we would be receiving notification when that system is up and running and when the sandbox is ready.
Yes. So I've got an update from Yavapai. Right now we're installing some firewall hardware so that they'll be able to connect with APRIS. The Vine system, we anticipate probably a month for the technology piece to be worked out, and then about a 2-month period for training and getting everybody up to speed, ready to go live.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions about Vine? Or if not, let's go to item C, House Bill 2166. This is the data project, right? Phase 1?
That's correct. Do you want to give a quick update? Or?
Oh, sure. Thank you, Lloyd and members. So we released the Phase 1 report, the data inventory report at the beginning of August per the statute. That was the work where we sent out to the law enforcement agencies across the state the request to get their understanding of the vendors that they're using to process their information, and then worked with them to get the data dictionaries from the majority of the vendors. Had a really good response rate, a much better understanding today of the types of data fields that are in all of the systems, which is what was presented in the report, along with what we believed a cost estimate might be to build a statewide system that would ingest that data into one area, one place that ACJC would house. That would be public-facing data for the members of the public and our legislature and criminal justice stakeholder agencies to be able to kind of get at that data in one place at one time. We're entering in Phase 2 right now, and some information went out yesterday and today that you should have all gotten, inviting folks that provided that data dictionary and that information from those agencies to come together at a number of stakeholder meetings where we want to better understand from you all, what data that's identified that could be collected is being collected across your systems. What are your challenges that you might have to sharing that data out to us if the state would mandate it? We're going to do that the week of the, 26th. We're going to have a law enforcement focused meeting one day, prosecutor and defense focused meeting one day, courts and probation meeting focused one day, or corrections one day, and then a catch-all meeting one of those days where obviously anybody's invited to come to any of those meetings, but we're going to try and focus as best we can during those specific stakeholder meetings around the unique challenges that may be identified by those partners. Once we collect that kind of information, I know there's going to be a follow-up survey that agencies are going to be able to take back, provide more in-depth information to us, and that's what we'll use to craft by the beginning of November, kind of the recommendation report that's due to the legislature, where we will identify and recommend, here are the data elements that we think, or that we would recommend the state would mandate be collected and reported to ACJC, along with a much more in-depth cost analysis of what it would cost to build that system. So again, it's been a tremendous lift. A lot of kudos to the staff here that put a lot of time and energy into that, the consultant that, God bless them, looked across all of those many data dictionaries full of Excel charts and tried to make sense of where the linkages were. What we were able to do is identify data elements that fall into 3 tiers, tier 1, 2, and 3. And by that, we mean we really need tier 1, those data elements in tier 1 to be able to track and draw links across the entire spectrum of the criminal justice process, from arrest to courts to jail or prison to probation and parole on the other end of that, so that we can have the picture of what someone is going through that process. The tier 2 elements allow us to begin to answer more in-depth questions, and then tier 3 would be even further down that. But without the tier 1 elements, there's gonna be a break in that cycle or that picture at some point. So that's how we try to get about this. But again, we're very interested to get more feedback from the practitioners when we have our stakeholder meetings and work on producing that report for November. So with that, I'll pause and answer any questions.
Well, I'm glad you're holding those meetings. I was going to suggest you do exactly that so we could start to pin down, like for the courts, what are we talking about giving you, and how then there's how do we do that? You know, what's the mechanism by which we provide that data? I think we'd like to know that, you know, we're working hard on improving the quality and the completeness of our data, but it is a process. And I do find that, like weekly report, we have certain data elements, but they're not always in a database. Sometimes they're in a minute entry, for example, which is a document. And so we probably do need to have that discussion about what exactly we're going to give, like in the first phase at least, and make sure we can do it and how consistently we can do it. And also whether we're talking about all the courts, the Muni and JP courts, or the Superior Courts. And I'm sure everybody in the system is going to have similar questions. I think you're going to find it exceedingly difficult to track a person from step A to B to C. And one of the biggest problems you're going to have is to be able to identify them, that they're the right person. I've seen systems try to do this, and you spend a lot of money on trying to match, you know, a name like John Smith or Jose Rivera through the system. People use different names at the point of arrest from when they're charged and so forth. But anyway, it is a challenge. It'd be very worthwhile if you could accomplish it. But I'm glad we're starting to have some meetings that get it down to the details.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, and just for clarity's sake, we are talking, this will be a prospective process where we will be, once we identify it, if the legislature provides a bill that mandates it, which would give us then the authority to collect and report it, we would be doing it prospective, so from date forward of the system coming online, which is what the language of the bill says, once the statewide reporting system is operational.
What were the dates of the stakeholder meetings?
I
said the
We have the 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th. So it's going to be the solid Monday through Thursday for those meetings. The first one on Monday is at 2:30, I believe, 10 a.m. for Tuesday, and then 2:30 for the
In September coming up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they'll be virtual.
10
And it's, you know, we understand it's going to be a lot, which is why we built in that additional process of, you know, getting ready. We got some videos so folks can hopefully be ready to participate in the meetings without having to recreate the wheel every time. We'll have the meetings, we'll hear some themes, but then you'll be able to go back and you'll have that ability to provide that in-depth feedback via a survey vehicle to us as well.
We can make sure you get the.
Now, Andy, you said a message went out about this. I know I didn't receive any today. Did you by chance send it to like staff, my staff, somebody who's reporting data? Because I want to make sure the right people are at these meetings.
Certainly, Director. It should, if it didn't go out to the commission members, it should have, and we'll make sure that it goes out today.
Okay. Because we have some people heading up our data quality projects, and it is a complicated deal when we're talking about so many different systems, so many different courts. And then it's probably different for probation. But anyway, if you send it to me, I'll try to round our folks up so that you got the right people at the meeting.
Thank you, sir.
All right, anything more on this topic, Lloyd?
No, sir.
Okay, how about the ADRS system?
Right, we have an update on ADRS. We had reported 6 counties were live. One of our counties was in the DPS testing queue for that for a period. We were able to finally complete the testing. They are now ready to begin transmission. So we have Coconino, Greenlee, Maricopa, Navajo, Pinal, and Yavapai has now gone live with ADRS. We've queued up Apache County to begin the testing with DPS, and we'll be re-engaging the others and queuing them up over the next few months. But testing has resumed. We were able to successfully integrate Yavapai County. Apache County is next, and then we have Cochise and Graham and others queued up. Six have gone live.
Is this the prosecutor's office reporting, or what, is that what this component is, Lloyd?
Yes, sir. The county attorneys are the county prosecutors.
So, Mr. Byers, this, if for memory's purpose, for folks that weren't necessarily involved in the committee, this was part of the governor's when he tried to do school safety 4 years ago now, I think. One of the proposals was how do we improve the criminal history system and improve completeness, and the recommendation was made by, I believe, Ms. Polk, Mr. Montgomery at that point, that one of the best ways to improve completeness would be to create that direct feed from the county attorney's offices into the ADRS to reduce the amount of paper and the backlog that was occurring. So the governor provided funding to do this work. We appreciate DPS's partnership and helping us with this work. And I know we had some, like a message switch changeover right in the middle of it, but I think we're online. The funding that was provided to us, 300,000 of that funding is what we're actually using to do the data, the 2166 project. Because part of phase 2 of this project, if we ever get done with phase 1, is a scan of the municipal prosecutors' offices to understand how we might be able to begin bringing them directly into the ADRS system as well. So we were able to complete part of that scan by doing the 2166 work. So there may be an opportunity once we get done with phase 1 to see if we might be able to bring some of the larger municipal offices that are already using a prosecutor by carpel or one of the other systems that that the county attorneys are utilizing, and try and direct feed them in as well.
Well, if we can get all the prosecutors' offices in, it'll be a huge improvement, because that's where the breakdown has been for decades. It'd be great to get them all in there. All right, any questions about ADRS?
Actually, I just have a statement about ADRS. We've been heavily involved in the data exchange project, and we have received a clean bill of health, if you will, from DPS on their audit. So we are definitely in production now, and it's working well. Pretty much what they're receiving now would be like what would be sending if we were to enter the information manually in ADRS. So I want to thank DPS staff and ACJC staff for helping us through that process.
Thanks, Julio.
I have some additional updates, not on the agenda, if I could, Director.
Lloyd, the problem is if we didn't put it on the agenda, we could talk about it in open discussion, I think. For us to,
It's just for information purposes?
yeah.
Yeah, I would, just for open meeting purposes, Lloyd, I think if it's not
Okay.
even if you just have a general other updates that you could include in future ones, I think you'd be covered, but.
Okay.
Maybe when we come to the open discussion, you can work it in if it's appropriate, Lloyd.
Thank you for that.
Okay, we've completed item number 3. Let's go to item number 4, which is maybe, Lloyd, you're refreshing my memory before the meeting. We have these committees, what is it, a policy and a technical committee that have worked over the years, providing some advice to this committee. You want to tell us about that and what you want to do?
Right. In the past, we've had a policy advisory team and a technology advisory team. In the research, we found that these are not standing committees for the commission, but they have been ad hoc groups that have provided some advice and support to the staff here at ACJC. Prior to this meeting, we did some additional research. I can report back that these are not standing committees. This committee does not assign or select chairs or members of that committee. So they will be brought together on an ad hoc basis to provide guidance to us as we move forward on some of these projects and to get feedback from our cohort groups. But I would like to clarify the request. We're not looking at selecting chairs for these or members for this committee.
So Director, this is Andy. So a point of clarity on that, any group that makes any policy type recommendations would need to be open meeting and agendized
Okay.
for purposes of for the public better understanding how a decision or a policy made its way up to this committee, ultimately to the full commission.
So as we have done with the NICS task force and as we've done previously with policy advisory committees, we would follow open meeting requirements to provide notice to the public and then opportunities for the public to view and participate as appropriate in these advisory committees. But the makeup of them would be convened by staff.
Yeah, I looked at at least the last meeting, and I've already made a comment offline to Lloyd that it was pretty heavily Maricopa. So whenever you create something, you might think about see if we can broaden the membership. It'd probably be a great idea on House Bill 2166 because I think you're going to need a lot of advice from the different stakeholders you mentioned as you move forward with that to make that all work.
Yeah, Director, we were always envisioning some type of data governance body that's going to need to have some function as we go down this road. So, I mean, obviously we're not that far yet, but there's going to need to be somebody that's going to ultimately be able to review whether elements should or shouldn't be reported, whether it's public or private information, and a lot of that stuff that we're going to need to have to figure out.
Yeah, I think you're right. We've created a similar group in the courts, and it's a very formalized group in terms of now what we require courts to collect, and we can add or subtract to it as in a governance manner. So I think you'll need that at some point. Okay, anything then on any questions or items, any more information on agenda item number 4?
No, sir.
If not, then let's go to item 5. We could have some open discussion. And Lloyd, you sent along with the materials this document that shows, I guess, various grants and funding, some of which looks like it's still available. Other amounts are committed. Did you want to brief us on any of this?
Yes, as part of the attachments, I wanted to give you an update on our grant making and program financials. We manage 3 grants and a number of funds, or 4 grants and a number of other funds and funds. The NCHIP, the National Criminal History Program, we just received our award this year. We have 7 sub-grantees, so 1.722 million in new funding. We have expended, as you can see, most of the monies out to the grantees. The 2020 was backlogged because of a purchase delay and some backlog on a particular project. But the monies are going out. We have good progress reports on the NCHIP program. The other grant was
Lloyd, hold on for a minute.
Yeah.
You know, the recent gun legislation that was passed by Congress included $40 million additional money each year, starting this year,
Right.
to improve juvenile records. And it was unclear whether or not people were going to have to apply directly to the feds, or whether it was going to come down to us as part of the NCHIP program. I've heard from, I think, Senator Kelly's office that their understanding is it's coming to you, the NCHIP money. Now, does this 1.7 by chance, does that include that juvenile money, or is that still yet to come?
It does not include the juvenile money. I don't think we have guidance yet on that.
Yeah, Director, we're still waiting for BJA to release all the guidance and application for all that new money.
Yeah, that's what I understood too. Okay, well, we're obviously, because of juvenile records, we're interested in that. We have a project that we want to talk to you about when we find out what the rules are and how much money is available.
Okay.
Certainly.
The Records Improvement Program for NICS, we were able to get a scope change approved for the 2018 funds, and we expect to have that fully expended this year, by the end of this year. We're moving forward with 2020 and being able to expend those funds as well. 2019, we're redesigning some parts of that. So the funding is to pay for an AZ Point interface to CAD systems, dispatch systems, and record management systems on law enforcement. We're a bit delayed on rolling that project out, but I'll have a better update for you moving forward. The 2021 dollars, right now we're doing a feasibility assessment on the conditions of release project, and we will be making a decision whether to move forward with that or to seek a project change if appropriate. The 2022 monies were just approved. That continues the work of the NICS task force. It provides additional funds to DPS for records improvement. The Coverdell Forensic Improvement Grants, moving forward as expected, no issues there. We just received our award for 2022, $423,000. Again, 6 grantees are a part of that. The Building State Technology, that's the OVC Vine grant. We did get in 1 year no-cost extension on that. We are moving forward. We've expended about 20% of the funds. We anticipate full use of those funds at the end of the project. The ADRS, again, we reported on that earlier. This is the disposition reporting system. Received money from the Fingerprint Clearance Fund back, I think, in 2018 or 2019.
Lloyd, on that one, you know,
Yes, sir.
DPS ran a bill this year that significantly expands the number of people that are going to have to be fingerprinted that are going through the municipal and JP courts.
Right.
My memory is it's going to be over 100,000 additional cases. And I see you're looking at maybe doing something with municipal courts. Are you thinking about JP courts also?
Now, this is, although the source of the funds came from the Fingerprint Clearance Fund, this is really a carve-out to do the DISPO reporting. So yes, as part of future phase 2 for connecting municipal courts back into, or so that they're transmitting to ADRS, yes. Justice courts might be a phase 3.
Well, I just want to, again, bring this to your attention, that this will be a big hit to the repository, because I don't think the system's geared up to handle an additional 100,000 people, getting them fingerprinted or misdemeanor cases. And, you know, some of our courts would hold up even processing a case until they got fingerprinted. And we're not going to do that. We can't possibly stop every court case. And not only that, in the municipal and JP courts, they don't know if they've been fingerprinted. So anyway, we can't solve it here today, but I think we should pay some attention and talk with DPS particularly, and all of us, how this is going to work to get these cases. Because what it's going to do is flood in a whole bunch of cases into the repository, and our closure rate's going to go way down. Because we're not going to have, I think we're not going to have fingerprints for a large number of these people, but we'll have dispositions reported.
Understood.
You're going to work overtime, Wade?
Additionally, the recidivism tracking database, we are in the process of putting together an RFP. We'll have an update for that at our next meeting. The full service crime fund, again, fully expended through 2022. We just released our awards for 2023. We estimate an end balance of about $500,000. And then we are in the process of putting plans together for our criminal justice records improvement program. This is the 5% that we get from the burn grant piece. So we'll be coming back with some recommendations. I don't think we've done this in the past, but we'll provide some recommendations for the funding and request some approvals from the committee.
Do you want to note that Phil Doherty joined?
Director Byers, we have Phil Doherty joining us as well. So we have a quorum now.
We now have a quorum, okay. Well, let's finish up the open discussion. Does any commission member have a question or a topic or anything they want to bring up today for the good of the order?
Force report.
Lloyd, I just have a question regarding the Arizona Disposition Reporting System. So I assume that a decision has been made to give the priority for this project to the municipal courts already instead of the justice courts?
This is Andy Julio. No, when we discussed the funding that we received, the agreement was always that the county attorneys and the what's the level I'm thinking? What's the
Superior Court?
Superior Courts and the Attorney General's office would be given priority 1. So that's phase 1 of the project. With any funding, if we had funding available, then we would go down to the municipal level to try and do a scan of those courts, those prosecutors' offices, to better understand what systems they were using. And again, I don't think we have enough funding to do all of them, but it was always going to be where we might see the biggest bang for our buck with funding that's left over to try and bring them in. So again, if there's a bigger bang for the buck and we can accomplish it at the JP level, then we certainly are willing to take a look at that. I think it's really going to come down to, again, where do we see the commonality across some of the RFS systems that the offices are using, that we could make a big, rope a bunch of them into one group and try and get them on. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah, I'm just coming into this halfway in. since I've never been a part of these meetings. So when you say municipal courts, we're talking about local municipal courts. We're not talking about local city prosecutors' offices, correct?
No, we're talking about the prosecutor's offices.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's where the confusion is. You've got on the agenda on the sheet courts, but you're really talking about automating the prosecutor's office so they have the ability to send the dispositional report, not the courts.
Correct, sorry.
Yeah, that confused me initially too, but I got it when you were talking. And so the county attorney prosecutes in the justice court. So if you get all the county attorneys on, I assume you're doing both superior dispositions as well as justice court dispositions for the county attorney's office?
Yes, that's correct. Again, it confused me because I saw municipal courts and I thought that meant that the dispositions coming from the justice courts. So now I understand that we're talking about city prosecutors' offices.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
One thing about the city court, most of the stuff is civil. I guess you'd be talking about misdemeanor cases, so it'd be a smaller number, I guess. But anyway, you're focused on the prosecutor's office, not the courts.
I get it now. Thanks.
Okay. Any other items from staff or any commission member in terms of general discussion or on this money, these grants? If not, let's go back and do item number 2, which is approval of the minutes. The minutes were distributed. Is there any changes? If not, can somebody make a motion to either amend or approve the minutes as presented?
This Julio Marroquin, I would second the approval of the March 17 minutes.
Okay, I think that's a motion to approve the minutes. We need a second. Phil, can we call on you to approve second?
Sorry about that. I've been having a few technical difficulties. Second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, minutes are approved. Staff, Lloyd, is there any other business before that needs to come before this committee today?
Director, the only thing I have is, so as you saw, but since we have some designees on the line, the commission meeting for Thursday was canceled. We're pushing that meeting. We're going to have 2 meetings in October. One will be a single issue meeting where the draft of the 2166 data recommendation report and an update will be provided to the commission. And then about a week after that, which I think is Thursday, the 27th, we will hold a full commission meeting where Chief Stahl would appreciate everybody's attendance in person, where we'll go through any normal business, but then we will also give final review and approval of that recommendation report to go, because that's due to the legislature and the governor by November 1st.
Andy, what are those dates?
Without a calendar in front of me, I think we're talking Thursday, October 27th in the afternoon, 1:30 normal time for our full commission meeting here at ACJC, and I believe probably Thursday the 20th online meeting for initial review and update on the report. I did send that out, but I can resend that to you, Director, if you didn't get it. I sent an email out, I think, on Friday, but I can resend it.
Okay, I'll go back and take a look too. I don't think I've caught it. All right, I guess I got to do a call to the public. I don't see any public on the line, but is there any public member that wanted to address the council or the committee?
Sasha, do you have an update for us?
There is none.
Thank you.
All right, I think we've
No
concluded
request to speak.
I think we've concluded all of our business. So if there's no objection, we'll call the meeting to a close. Thank you all for attending.